I hope to be uncharacteristically short today in my homily for a very particular reason, but don't get used to it. I promise you I will not stay like this. But today after communion, we're going to have an annual report of our budget of what we spent last year and what we took in last year so that you get a picture of the workings of the parish. It's important that this be known by all and that you see what happens to all the money that comes in and where it goes. And it links to this scripture today because Jesus gets to the heart of what he is calling us to as individuals and as a church. And we've been set up, by the way, because for several weeks earlier, we were listening to stories of healings. He opened eyes, he opened ears, he allowed people to speak, and he cast out demons that were possessing so that the inner spirit could be free. And when Jesus did all of these things, and as I always say, the little story, that's what happened. But the big story is he casts out our demons of fear, all the demons that possess us. I'm not talking Satan and Beelzebul, but the demons of the emotions that grab us and hold us, and they disallow us from being free. And he opens our eyes to inner vision and our hearing to deeper hearing, not hearing just words, but where people are at, hearing about their lives. He opens our mouths so we can speak truth and challenge one another, love one another openly, not be quiet and reserved, but to be bravely open about speaking what we believe. So in that context, which we've been hearing about for weeks, he arrives at Caesarea Philippi with his disciples. Now, this is a place where two cultures came together, the Jews and the Greeks. It was a very open area. It was a place where people raised every kind of question, all the philosophical issues, the deep issues of life, and they were openly discussed. And in that spirit, he says, who do people say that I am? Interesting. Who do people say that I am? He doesn't ask about what he's been preaching or teaching. Who do they say that I am? And notice in that I am, that's that code word. That's how God speaks. Who is he? Moses says, who shall I say sent me? Say, I am. So they say, well, some say John the Baptist, Elijah, or one of the prophets. So he turns on and says, who do you say that I am? And Peter announces, you are the Christ. You are the Christ, the anointed, the Messiah. Now, we've been listening to Messiah stories, all those healings. When the Messiah would come, the deaf would hear, the mute would speak, the blind would see, the paralyzed would walk, the demons would be cast out, and there would be a new beginning, a new resurgence of life. You are the Christ. So they are expecting in the Messiah a complete overthrow of everything, and finally Israel would be raised up and all the enemies would be gone. Goodbye, Rome. Goodbye, Rome. And instead, Jesus says this as the Christ. I'm going to have to suffer and be betrayed and die and then be raised up after 3 days. And Peter rebukes him for this message. You can't say that. And Jesus says, I think, the most startling words that he speaks in all the gospel. Get behind me, Satan. And he doesn't say it to an enemy, he says it to his Peter. Get behind me, Satan. You're listening or looking at things with man's eyes instead of God's eyes. And he's saying in this moment, this is the revelation of God. The Messiah has come, and the way that he will renew everything won't be from the outside in, but from the inside out. That inner spirit will be renewed. And what will be the renewal? And here it is. You must take up your cross and follow me. You must serve everyone. Now, it's appropriate that we're talking about our finances today because it goes to the heart of what church is about, really, in a way, any nonprofit or most nonprofits. Nonprofits that serve others. They have this idea and ideal of service. We're here to do something for society, but not only nonprofits, the police, the fire department, these people are servants. They're servants. They put themselves in the line of great danger, even to their own lives. Especially, I think, when a firemen, to rush into a fire, to try to save buildings and most of all to save lives, that has that whole gospel sense of mission and service. But I'd ask any individual fireman, do you live this with your family, with your neighbors, with your enemies, with everybody? And I would say, I doubt it. It's a job, and they are drawn to the job. They're probably fearless people. But what about you and me? What is our role as church? Jesus reveals it today. You and I, all of us, not just Father, all of us, through our baptism are called to be servants. All of us are called to put ourselves last and everybody else first. All of us, not just the priest, all of us are called to take up our cross daily. And I would propose to you that where we best proclaim who we are as church is when we go right to that spot of pouring out self for others, accepting rejection, being at the butt end of anger and hatred. How we act here really reveals who we are as church, what we believe about following Jesus Christ. All we need to do is look up at the cross. There it is. We look up at the cross and say, wow, how'd you do this, Lord? What did you do while you hung up there? And what he did while he hung up there, dying, was forgive and bless those who were hating him. Forgive and bless those who were hating him. It's our crosses, the struggles of life, that best reveal what we really, really believe. I'll end my uncharacteristically short homily by saying this. When I buried the father of my brother-in-law several years ago, he was a Catholic, married to a Methodist, and they were very generous to me when I was in the inner city, helped me every month. So I did his burial, and he used to belong to a golf club, and there were some wealthier people in his company. And when I finished the service, I got home, and about a week later, I get a call from one of the gentlemen who had been at his funeral. And he says to me, Father Perry, we really approved of what you said today. And my ears went, approved? Oh my God. So I didn't say anything, and it went on, and I like that you said this and that, We really approved of what you said. My ears again, boom, approved? Do I need your approval? Do I come up here to get your approval? I don't. I hope I mess with your minds. I hope I do. I hope I get you bothered. But Jesus said, it's said of Jesus that he came to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. So if you're comfortable, anywhere you're comfortable, I hope I can afflict you. Because that's what Jesus comes to do, to stir us up. I mean, imagine, of all the symbols that we should have, that we mark ourselves with every day, the cross. That's what we mark ourselves with. That's who we say we are. We're a people of the cross. So how do we act when we're on that cross? What do we do? That says everything. And Jesus today proclaims that. Peter rebukes him for it. And he says, get behind me, Satan. This is why I came. It's how we take the cross that best reveals who we are and what we believe.